Hi, it's Majin, and welcome to another edition of Let's Just Get Through My Stack of Reviews. We have Flash, we have Justice League Dark, Futures, some Avengering, some Batman, some Thanoses, some Fantastic Marvels, and let's get on with it. Okay, at first I was interested in the Flash because they're bringing in Wally West and they're bringing in this future Flash who's trying to correct all these problems. And I gotta tell you this much: after I read this book, I'm like, I'm done with you. I am just totally uninterested. Now, it's not to say that it's bad writing, it's a bad art. It's just I just feel like I've read this story before. Think about it this way: you have Wally West. DC couldn't just bring in somebody like in the spirit of Wally. So they get the troubled teen who's obviously has issues against Barry because Barry, turned him in type thing, stopped him from vandalizing. And so now you're going to have these two people who don't like each other. And it's kind of like it's a thing to do now where you have that rebellious teenager type thing under your wing. And you have this, you have the frantic Flash from the future who's trying to prevent tragedies and deaths. And, it's like, I know I've seen something like that before. Oh, yeah, that was right before Flashpoint when Flash was trying to save Iris type thing. And it's just, to me, I'm just going... the other thing, too, I guess you can say, is the fact that Marvel's doing all this time traveling and hopping, and now you have the Flash doing it. And, I'll be honest, I couldn't care less seeing the battle between the two Barrys, red and blue. I don't care about Wally West. I'm never going to buy Wally West. And I think this is just to me has just been a rather disappointment, which is a shame because I was really hoping to jump on board. I thought this could have been something interesting, but for me at least, it's not happening. But I know for a fact Flash fans are probably really pretty happy. Justice League Dark is going to get dropped. I could not stand this title any longer. Let me sum it up to you this way: you have John Constantine who just doesn't want anything to do with the Justice. Oh, sorry, John Constantine needs the Justice League Dark because they need to solve problems. But Justice League Dark doesn't want Constantine because he's a first-class jerk. Now, combine that, you get a group of superheroes who are in the dark. Like Deadman and Swamp Thing and Zatanna. And do I really care about any of these characters? Absolutely not. Do I care about the Nightmare Nurse or Nighttime Nurse? Absolutely not. The only time I gave even two cents worth of caring was when she was making her move in the tub. That was it. Beyond that, couldn't care less. Now, on top of that, what we learned something pretty darn interesting about Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing is a protector of the green, and he's bribable. All you gotta do, and this comic here proves it. Let me get the appropriate page here. All you have to do is something really simple. You just need to give Swamp Thing, here we go, beautiful scenery and sweet tasting fruit, and he's on board. I'm done with the Justice League Dark. I am so done. Futures End number 4. Okay. This one here, this is basically a follow-up storyline. Basically what we have is we have Frankenstein being recruited back into Shade, and Shade's like, hey dude, we need your help because Stormwatch is dead, gone, and you need to go figure out what happened. And if you remember in the first issue, they got killed, blown up. And Frankenstein's like, where should I help you? And they're like, well, your girlfriend's on there, or your ex. And Frankenstein's like, whoa, if anybody dare raise a hair on her head, I'm going to buy all that's unholy. So, and again, it's like, where have you heard those lines before? You know what I mean? Come on. So then we also get to deal with the Batman Beyond, and then we also get that little storyline with the Grifter. And I'm just like, okay, this is not what I would consider one of the strongest stories, but this is like one of those necessary stories to move the your storyline along. So don't expect much for it, but it is what it is. You know. Okay, Batman Eternal, they finally figure out the police force is, or the new commissioner is corrupt. There's something wrong with him. And, you know, I guess this is the theme, is where have you seen this before? Where you have the corrupt commissioner calls Batman on the rooftop, and he's got all these guys, and they're ready to beat on him and arrest him. How many times have we seen this story plot point before? It's like, when they run out of ideas, do they just like go through old comic books and just think that we're stupid? Or maybe they just figure that, you know, nobody's read Batman more than a year is now reading this book, so that we can recycle this old freaking plot point. Oh my God, man, just come up with something different, you know? That's what the one thing I could say about Snyder was, you know, like him or hate him, he at least was coming up with some new ideas. You know, something fresh. So I appreciate that. And then we finally get to the spoiler, and I'll be honest with you, the spoiler Clue Master part, that's the part that I'm really interested in the most out of this book. Get rid of Batman. Call it Clue Master trying to kill daughter. And I'm sold. Okay, Mighty Avengers. This actually is a better original Sin crossover. Now you can tell this was originally supposed to be a story about Blade killing where rooster things. Because there's a lot of bloodshed. So all you people who love blood and guts, you're going to be happy. Right at the beginning. But then you're going to reach a point where it goes into the original Sin part, where you have Mighty Man, he's talking to one of the Watchers, and he's like, my condolences that, you know, the Watcher's dead. And she's like, we don't believe in that kind of thing because that is something that we no longer feel. And he's like, crying, man. And don't you worry, I'm going to get revenge and all bloody hell. That person who killed the Watcher is going to pay. And she goes, well, before you do that, Mighty Man, let me show you something. And she takes him to this room and shows him the baby floating head. And he's like, oh my goodness, it's a baby. And he forgets about revenge. And that he's going to be the godfather of the Watcher's baby. Forget revenge, though. Okay, Thanos Annual. I know you people out there love Thanos. You love Thanos more than you love Pop-Tarts. But let me just tell you about this issue here. This issue may or may not be for you because this is designed for somebody who's not unfamiliar with Thanos. And actually, this is a really important, even though I'm kind of starting to dog on it, I got to reel myself back a little bit. This is actually an important book in the sense that you have Thanos being a major player in the Marvel movies. So you really need to make sure people who are coming on board for the first time know who he is and have access to find this type of material easily and affordably. Because this is what it basically does, is it tells you who Thanos is. It tells you his, you know, key battles. It talks about the Infinity Gauntlet. It talks about past Infinity Gauntlet. You know, it gives you a good primer as to like how much of a badass he really is, and you know what his history is. Now, it doesn't go into great detail, like for an example, the Thanos Rising book does, in terms of his background and growing up. But for a moviegoer, like if somebody goes, you know, I don't know who this person is, you give them this comic book and they know. And so that's why it's an important read for those types of people. And Marvel really needed to do this. And in all honesty, when you watch for that next, when Marvel does its next big push for Thanos in the movies, you better believe there's going to be more of this stuff out there. Okay. Fantastic Four. Number 5. I really like this issue here. And, you know, this actually was going to be my book of the week. The good book of the week. But here's the problem. This is the trial of the Fantastic Four. And I know there's been a story like this before, but not done quite like this. Now, basically what's going on is the city of New York is trying to prove how irresponsible destructive the Fantastic Four are to the city. So the prosecuting attorney is just like, well, Sue Storm, didn't you once fraternize and have relationships with a submariner who's just trying to destroy New York? And she's like, no, not really. We're just good friends. And then, it's like, then they talk about, well, the thing, what about that time you fought the Hulk and destroyed the city? And Reed, when you, way back at the beginning, you shot that Ford and caused all this damage and stuff. And what happened? Why did you do this? And he's like, I found these, I wanted to show you some pictures, and it's things like this. And I'll be honest with you, the prosecuting attorney really did present a very solid case over time, and to show the harmful effects of the what they've done and how negligent they have been. But the whole primary purpose of this was basically to take away the children. And this is where I'm kind of going, well, this is both good and bad, but it's an interesting plot point, so I'm willing to ride with it. And it's definitely been better than what it has been in the past. Now, the reason why I say that this, for me, wasn't the good book of the week is because it was pretty much just a lot of rehash. It's like, remember this, remember that, and again, it just kind of followed a very simple plot formula. Throw in some guest artists to do full-page spreads, and we'll call it a day. And it is a double-sized issue, so I appreciate the extra pages, so that way they could do that, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm more interested to see what's happening with Dr. Doom and what's her name from the daughter of Sue. I'm more interested in that because they touch about this at the end, and she's doing some weird stuff with Dr. Doom. And no, I don't mean like making Doom babies or anything like that, but she's doing something different. She's changing Doom in a positive way. So I'm more interested in that. Next up, Miss Marvel number 4. Miss Marvel is probably by far one of, in my opinion, one of the best new superhero comic books out on the market, period. Now, the thing is, a lot of times what happens is you have like, for example, Marvel and DC are both guilty of this. You take a character and you don't really make them interesting in the sense that it's the same character type. They come from a troubled home. Maybe they're not good at school. The Peter Parker syndrome. How many times have we seen that before? All you're doing maybe is just changing their clothes, and it's the same type of character. And then even the rogues gallery. It's right from the beginning. Look at this. We got to bring in all these rogues from the original version of these characters in some cases. Even with Nova, for that fact, he's already flying off into space, and you get just a little bit of who he is, and he's already involved in intergalactic battles. But with Miss Marvel, everything is very grounded in, and we get a very interesting character, and that's what they're building with her. It's an interesting character, and the power is secondary. And that's what I really appreciate about this. I mean, we haven't really even seen supervillains yet. And even though she has her new villain at the end of this storyline, it's not a true villain. And so that's what I'm really appreciating about this book. The art is unlike anything that's out on the stands right now. And I think as long as they have this team together, they really have something special in this title. But like the minute somebody like Hickman or Remender or Bendis picks up this book, I think you're going to lose a lot of everything that makes this character special is going to be gone, because the thing you have to remember is this is a character who wants to belong. She wants to be a part of her school, her friends, but yet her religion is preventing that from happening. So you have a really interesting dynamic of that person who's coming of age. It's not, I'm a rebellious teenager, or I'm just a kid who's not doing well in school. What she is she's trying to break down her religious faith so this way she can belong, but at the same time not be disrespectful to her parents. And I think that's what's interesting about this character. And I really hope this thing goes on for a long time, because this is probably one of the gems that are out there right now. If you haven't bought the first 3 issues, highly recommend buying them. I'm sure they're going to be trading it soon if the issues are sold out. this isn't not going to be one of those books that are going to sell millions of copies. But I think this is going to be one of those books that, if you have that friend who, especially if it's a female, who goes, I don't know why you read those comic books. They're just a bunch of macho-ish, TNA books. Then you pull out Ms. Marvel and you say, there you go. And you prove her wrong right there. And finally, Avengers number 30. Basically, what we have is Avengers jumping through time again. And it all has to do with the time gem. Now, you don't spend long here, and then they're going to go again at the end of this issue to another time jump. I'm really getting tired of time jumping, but this is a common theme that's been going on for a couple years now, and they are ripping the fabric of existence apart. So something big has eventually got to be coming from all of this, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the end result of this all, because I have a feeling they're going to probably build it into something huge, and then they could probably at that time do a retcon, or just do some minor changes, to characters' histories, things like that, based on the damage that they've done to the time stream. Also, Hawkeye of the Future is pretty badass, so I can appreciate that too, especially when he's pounding Tony in the face. That part was good. Overall, I enjoyed it, but this is like one of those books where you just can't pick it up. You just can't pick it up brand new. You have no clue what's going on, which is unfortunate. Now, this is kind of like an original tie-in, because this is basically dealing with Tony and what he did with the Illuminati and destroying planets. But in a way, it's almost like a convenient original sin, because eventually they had to figure this out anyways. It's not a revelation that, hey, everybody, look what we didn't know. We've been waiting for this to come out, and so far when it came out, it's not the payout that I'm quite looking for, which is a little bit disappointing. But anyways, we'll see what happens. Got through my mini stack. I still have a bunch of stuff to read. Way too much stuff to read. Anyways, well, let's see if I can get you a code or two. There's one. I know you Thanos fans out there are going to be like fighting for this one. I read Magneto. Magneto was kick butt. Man, that was kick-ass. Thor. Oh, God, Thor was so good, too. But those were last week's books that I got this week, so. I don't think I'm able to give you the Mighty Avengers. Yep, that ain't coming off. Oh, there it goes. Alright. That is my good. Alright, actually, that's not my good. That's my stack of reviews. And like, share. Crunchyroll, Facebook over there. Let me know what you guys thought. What did you guys like out of your books? What did you read? I'll have more reviews later. Hopefully next week we'll have a smaller stack. So until next time.